Hello, this is Wmpyr. I just watched a video with Michael Jai White. So he was being interviewed. He was being interviewed about Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal. So it was just a segment or a YouTube clip. And yeah, just here to share my 2 cents and hopefully tackle some important issues about viewing martial arts and that kind of stuff, related stuff. So hopefully I could address some interesting ideas here. So first of all, I'm not here to crucify the man. Michael J. White, he he was in Spawn, which is one of my favorite superhero movies to this day, actually. Yeah, to this day, believe it or not. I know a lot of people was like they might think Spawn is outdated or whatever, but I like it. Like I said, one of my favorites to this day. And in all fairness, I don't like a lot of the superhero movies today. I grew up reading the comics in the '90s, and it just feels weird to me watching it on the big screen. The translation is not the same, especially when you go to like Guardians of the Galaxy, which is one of the ones I really liked in the '90s. I already said this before. I wish they had just called it something else. But anyway, let me come back to Michael J. White. Let's see. His yeah, I saw him in Universal Soldier 2, which I like the first movie better, just overall. Um, but him as the villain, the last boss, right? I remember not liking him as the villain in Universal Soldier 2, but I do remember thinking this. I do remember thinking, wow, this is the next level compared to like Van Damme. I like no disrespect to Van Damme. Brand name wise, of course, Jean-Claude Van Damme, you can't beat that. He was in the Hollywood king along with Steven Seagal in the '90s. He was the undisputed king with Steven Seagal. It was the two of them. They were, if you're a martial arts action movie star, they were the champs. You wanted to be where they were, kind of thing. So brand wise, of course, Jean-Claude Van Damme. But I'm talking about like just physique, like you can see right here, um, movement and martial arts choreography ability. I felt like Michael J. White had surpassed Jean-Claude Van Damme, and that's no disrespect to Jean-Claude Van Damme. I just thought, wow, this is the next level. I'm not saying that he's a better actor or his charisma is better. I'm not saying none of those things. Okay, I'm just saying just martial arts action choreography wise, Michael J. White to me was the next level compared to Van Damme. That's just my own opinion. Okay. So anyway, that being said, uh, when he talked, they asked him about Van Damme, and what he said they sparred. He said they sparred. So um, and then the interviewer, of course, had to ask, well, who got the better of who, like who was better, and this guy, Michael J. White, pretty much said, I was better, right? I wish he had said, and he does mention this, but I wish he had just said, I was competing at the time, so I was in competition shape. Jean-Claude Van Damme was not competing, so it's not a fair comparison. I wish he had just said that and left it at that. He just left it at that. But instead, he basically said, no, I was the better, right? Why would you say that? And I think that right there, why did you say that? That is what got him in trouble with the Bruce Lee statement. Okay, yeah, he makes a good argument. He says size does matter in real life. Yeah, it does. And he's way bigger than Bruce Lee. Okay, but when you say stuff like that, it gets you in trouble. Why would you say that? Saying that you could beat Bruce Lee, saying that you could beat Van Damme is to me no different as walking into a room and going, I am the baddest motherfucker here. It's like you're walking around planet Earth going, I am the baddest dude here. And that, to me, as a martial artist, is not a good attitude to have. And that is the quickest way to find a bullet with your name on it. So that, and this is the catch. The bullet may not be another fighter. The bullet might be in the form of social media, a backlash from social media, which is exactly what he got for saying that, you know? So you don't, as a martial artist, I feel like you're supposed to try to be humble as best as you can, and you're not supposed to say stuff like that. And if someone asks you and they're trying to trap you into that, you don't play that game. You don't play that game. Now, it's easy for me to say all this kind of stuff because I am not at his, you know, I don't have any fame. He is in fame. So everyone around him is like, oh, you're so badass. You're awesome. It's a difficult situation. I'm sure. You know, you're surrounded by a lot of, that's negativity in a weird way, but that is negativity. And you're surrounded by that. So I just feel like it seems like Michael Jai White has had hopefully good martial arts instructors, and so he understands the martial path. He needs to meditate on that. In my opinion, you know, who am I? Nobody. So just saying. So whatchamacallit, I bet the reason why he said it is in his mind that's fact, and then also which is also not a good place. You don't want to be thinking like that. And then another thing is, you know, where you start, you know, people ask you and you're showing off. You're showing off by saying stuff like that, you know. So he was showing off, and anyway, he is in show business. That's what you're supposed to do, show off. But okay. So, but he, now I got to give him props, right? I got to give him props. And he was saying that Van Damme was super nice to him, and he gave touching stories, that this is the kind of stories we want to hear, you know, that they were cold in the set of Universal Soldier, and Van Damme gave him a jacket, you know, and all that kind of stuff. That's awesome. That's awesome. So he was like, I will have Van Damme's back, is pretty much what he said. That's great. You know, that's awesome right there. That you know, he said that, and he seems to truly genuinely feel that way. Okay. And then also because this is also about Steven Seagal, where he said that Steven Seagal hurt people on stuntmen on the set. James Liu is, if you have watched any number of martial arts action movies in the 90s, you've seen James Liu. It's that guy. I mean, he's just that big, you know, as far as not famous necessarily, but he's been in everything kind of guy, you know. And he mentioned some other guy. I forgot the name. I don't know. I didn't recognize the name. But Michael Jai White said Steven Seagal hurt those two for no freaking reason. Now, I wasn't there, so I don't know if this is true. But if it was true, yeah, I feel like, and then Michael Jai White said that he freaking exploded. He was like, damn it, God, why would you, and he made a scene. Good for him. That was amazing. That's awesome. He stood up for them. He stood up for those guys, and he expected to be fired. Bravo. That's not an easy thing to do, especially in the world of Hollywood. You get blacklisted that way. And he stood up for them. He was like, that's just wrong, you know. So good for him. That's a wonderful thing. I got to give him props for that, okay? So Steven Seagal, if he really did hurt some people like that for no freaking reason, and it's kind of been famous that he does that, it sounds like he's extremely insecure and he's a tyrant. Why would you just do that? Why would you just bully people like that? So that's a tyrant. So I don't care how good Steven Seagal's skills are or how amazing of whatever he is, that's not good as a human being. So to me, if you're going to walk the warrior path, if you are going to say that you are, you know, code of honor, code of warrior, this kind of thing, that's included right there, how you are as a human being. And that's crappy. That is crappy. It would be like a lion that just keeps going after like rabbits and stuff. and is acting like, yeah, I'm the king of the jungle, and all you do is attack rabbits. That is pretty pathetic, right? So now, they asked, they asked, who would win in a fight, Van Damme or Steven Seagal? And this is ridiculous, ridiculous. And hopefully I can change y'all's perspectives on this. People ask this all the time, all the time. And I understand. We all fantasize about this kind of stuff. You have to understand, this is a 13-year-old's fantasy, 13-year-old boy's fantasy. This is very juvenile, okay? And it's fine. It's fine to have it. Just recognize it as juvenile, okay? And I'm gonna try to explain why. So please forgive me. I will do my best. Jean-Claude Van Damme versus Steven Seagal. Michael Jai White says, without a doubt, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Okay. And why? He says, because Van Damme was willing to spar me. Van Damme, who was not in competition at the time, who was not in competition shape, this is the guy who was just making movies at the time, was willing to spar against the guy that was competing. So Michael Jai White's talking about himself. At that time, he was competing, is what he said. So this guy, Jean-Claude Van Damme, was not afraid to spar with him, to exchange stuff. And he tells you, you can watch the interview, he tells you everything. He says, we're here not to see who's better, we're here to make each other improve through sparring. So it's not, let's throw down. So he makes that clear, you know. But there's no guarantee, because you spar with somebody, you don't know what the heck they're going to do. You don't know if they're going to try to hurt you. You don't know if they don't understand, hey, let's spar to improve our skills, not spar to see who's the better fighter. Let's find out. No, that's two different things. And you never know if the other person understands that or not. I've sparred many times, and I've been in situations where I've said to the guy, I'm like, I remember this one guy, he was the light heavyweight Muay Thai, he just won a smoker match, and then he also won a submission, no-gi submission grappling match. So he in our club, he was the new champion, right? So he had just won both of those. He had medals or whatever. Anyway, so this guy was the new champion. This guy wants to spar me, and you know, he's half my age. So I tell the guy, dude, I'm too old. And then plus he's light heavyweight. I'm like, you know, I'm 150 pounds soaking wet, right? So I tell the guy, look, I'll go with you if you can go 50%. And the guy goes, all right, I'll go 50%. And then we're getting ready, and I'm looking at him, and I go, this bastard is not going to go 50. I could tell just by looking at him. He's ready to prove his dominance on me. You know, he's the lion, and I'm like a coyote or something in his den, and he's going to show me. And I look at him, and I say, hey, bro, you're not going to go 50%, are you? And he gives me like this you know, grin. What a jackass, right? That's an asshole. And that's exactly, you know, you don't know what you're going to face. Good thing I was experienced enough to know, and I knew what was coming. And so I was able to handle it, luckily, but I mean, that's 100% luck, you know, because some guys I just can't handle. Luckily, this guy thought he was a lot better than he really was, and he underestimated me, so I was able to handle that situation. But once again, you know, it could have easily been I could not handle this guy. You know, it just depends on who it is. So that's what Michael Jai White's talking about. He's like, you never know. But Van Damme put that aside. Van Damme had enough skill. He was confident in himself to go, you know what, I could spar this guy. I have real skill. I could spar it, even though this guy is a, you know, professional point karate champion or whatever. I can spar this guy, no problem. That guy's in competition shape. I'm not, but you know, I understand the language. We can play, you know. So that they did that, and Michael Jai White gives him respect, right? So that says a lot about Van Damme too, right? And you know, Michael Jai White understands that I'm not here to tear him apart. So obviously he didn't tear him apart, and also that would be bad for his job trying to be an actor. He would have the reputation of being like Steven Seagal, where you know hurt people because of ego, right? So anyway, he says Van Damme would win the fight against Steven Seagal because Van Damme was willing to spar and he got to see Van Damme's skills. Okay, for Steven Seagal, he was like, have you ever heard of this guy? Basically, he's saying that Steven Seagal doesn't fight, Steven Seagal doesn't compete, Steven Seagal does not spar. Therefore, you know, the man's untested. That's the answer right there. But therefore, he would lose is not the proper answer to me. To me, the proper answer would be, therefore, he is untested. We don't know. We don't know. But at the same time, Michael Jai White, come on. You know, if you have done fight training, and I'm guessing he has, I don't know Michael Jai White personally, but I'm guessing, look at the guy. The guy's an animal. He's a beast. So, you know, do I think he could handle one day of UFC level training? Yeah, I bet you he can. I mean, he's physically looks like an amazing athlete. So, yeah, I'm not saying he's a UFC level fighter. I think he likes to think that he is, but I'm just saying, could the guy handle UFC training? Looks to me like he could. That's all. It's just my assumption. So when he looks at Steven Seagal, he goes, this guy is not in fighting shape. This guy is not going to be able to fight. You know, so he made that assumption, which I don't think he's necessarily wrong, you know, because in fighting, you have to be in shape. And Van Damme obviously was confident enough to go, okay, Michael Jai White, let's spar. Steven Seagal, I don't think can do that, right? So in that sense, I get what Michael Jai White is saying, and it makes sense to me. It makes sense. But that is in the realm of fighting, okay? So let's think about this. Is Steven Seagal dangerous? Yes or no? And the answer should be, yes, he's super dangerous. The guy, I don't know how much of this is true, but it seems like he's a really good shot. You know, I've seen his that what is he, deputy sheriff? Anyway, when he was a police officer in Louisiana, I saw that show. I binge watched it. I enjoyed it, you know. And in it, he seemed like he was a really, 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 really good shot, an excellent shot. Okay, so Steven Seagal, comfortable with guns, good at guns, confident in guns. In a street situation, will he pull out the gun and shoot Michael Jai White? If he had to, he might be able to. I don't know if he can, because to actually kill somebody, that's a whole nother level, right? But does he have the skills to do it? I believe yes, 100%. Does that make him dangerous? 100%. Is his shooting skills come mixed and combined with his Aikido skills? I think he said yes. And do I doubt that? No, I don't have any reason to doubt it. That's what he trained in. He trained in Aikido for a long time, and so why wouldn't he mix those skills with his shooting skills? Makes sense to me. So, is his martial arts skills bad then? I mean, like, are they crappy? You know, as a fighter, sure, I can understand that. That I know Steven Seagal says, I've been fighting. I'm a fighter. He says that. Not in the way Jean-Claude Van Damme or Michael Jai White defines it. No, not in that way. Steven Seagal has a completely different definition of what a fighter is. Okay. But on the street, where anything goes, can he pull out a gun and be dangerous? Abso-freaking-lutely. So does that make him formidable? Abso-freaking-lutely. Isn't that good enough? Who cares about, okay, no, if they were empty hand, if they were in the cage, if they were those, you know, this whole thing is fantasy, what we're talking about. Jean-Claude Van Damme versus Steven Seagal. If Steven Seagal had a concealed pistol on him, and then Van Damme chases him down to a bar, and if Steven Seagal really felt threatened, he'd pull out the pistol and shoot Van Damme. You know, he doesn't even have to shoot him in the head. You know, he could shoot him in the leg or something. Self-defense, right? If he did that, isn't that Steven Seagal's victory right there? You know, and Van Damme greatly underestimated Steven Seagal there because he thought it was going to be a fist fight. So if you look at it that way, the fighting part is one very small aspect of combat, of self-defense. And when I mean fighting, I'm talking about like a professional fighter, because there has been cases, and I hate to say the God, I don't want to say the guy's name, but there was a famous martial artist. The guy was a professional fighter. He was a North American world champion. Okay, and the guy he got involved in a basically it was like a mugging situation. So he went after the culprit. He chased the guy down, and he got shot and died. That's real life. In the ring, yeah, they could fight 100 times, and I bet this guy would have won 100 times. This guy could have fought another guy, a professional, and went 12 rounds, and then fought this guy, and he would have still won. You know what I mean? I mean, there's no way in hell that this guy would have lost to the thug, who shot him in a sport fight. But that's not what combat is. In combat, there's so much more. So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is Steven Seagal dangerous? And to me, the answer is yes. Isn't that good enough? Who cares if he's, who cares if he would lose to John Jones in the cage? Who cares? Can he take out John Jones on the street? And the answer is yes, he has the potential to do it. It doesn't have to even be a firearm. What if it's a blade? Yeah. Does he have the capability? I believe yes. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. And when I say yes, he can, I'm not talking about John Jones in the left corner, in the blue corner, Steven Seagal in the red corner. Steven Seagal has a katana sword. John Jones is barehanded. Are you ready? Are you ready? Go. No, I'm talking about a street situation, a pure 100% on the street type situation, where it could have started from an argument, So that's what I'm talking about. So when we start thinking about, well, what if they fought and they're barehanded, they fought in the ring, these are all, this is all 13-year-old fantasy talk, right? So it's really not that important. It really isn't. At the end of the day, in martial arts, you're not supposed to underestimate anybody. Is the other person dangerous? Is the other person another human being? And therefore, you need to respect that. You don't have to necessarily respect a person, but you have to respect that they are a human being. And a human being, that's a lot of things. That's somebody's brother. That's somebody's dad. That's somebody's uncle. That's somebody's child. That there's consequences, and that person can, if pushed enough, can they fight back? Can they be dangerous? The answer is yes. Yes. So anyway, I hope I made sense and brought a different perspective aboard on the fantasy talk. Look, you guys want to do fantasy talk, and I've done plenty of it. Jeff Speakman versus Don the Dragon Wilson, or I'm getting stuck on names, but there's tons of 90s martial arts action movie stars. Bolo Young versus Jalal Merhi, or whatever. There's tons. But you can fantasize about that. That's fine. I'm not telling you not to do that, but I'm just saying it is a very juvenile thing, and you should understand that, because real combat is different. And in real combat, it doesn't have to go barehanded one-on-one, so just saying that. Okay, so that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.